Welcome to the second tutorial from the EiB Module 3 presenting the Intertek form for S&P Low Density Genotyping Services. In this form that each user needs to send to Intertek vendor when wants to genotype a set of samples with a certain number of cusp markers, we can observe that there are several Excel sheets that must be filled by the user. And this includes the customer details, plate IDs, sample list, plate layout grid, and S&P information. Both at HTPG service as well sampling and shipping instructions are instructions and available information about the services to the user and should be read carefully before starting any genotyping job. So starting with the sampling and shipping instructions, there is a small introduction describing where and how users can use this service, including types of service, if it's for routine or verification analysis, the material to be used as per vendor requirements. In this case, Intertek just do the genotyping leaf tissue. The devices to be used, the requirement for sampling plates and seals according with the vendor, the sampling device, as I already said, and important information to be retained, namely, for example, that the wells H11 and H12 should be empty for lab controls and that the user should not sample more than what the vendor is required. This is so because we need to avoid deviations and lower and higher number of disks can influence negatively the DNA extraction and further genotyping success rate. So the users previous to genotyping, previous to sampling, should read all the sampling instructions from the vendor side that are here very well described. Also, it is described how to send the samples, which documents are required, and to where the samples can be sent, either to Sweden, India, or Australia lab. And for this, the users should follow up and confirm all these requirements from the EiB Module 3 as well from the HTPG. If we go to the HTPG service, we will find the Intertek conditions for processing the lab order in a high throughput manner. This means that if the users do not comply with all requirements, will not get the discount. So in addition, the users also can find in the bottom some information about the S&P scoring and what means. Coming back to the customer details, there is a part dedicated whether the genotyping job is supported financially by the HTPG or not, and is highlighted at a different color. So depending on this, the user will choose yes or no. So the remaining information relates to custom details such as address and emails to be added when needs to send the Intertek reports, as well the confirmation of arrival of samples. So here also, depending if the HTPG is helping or not the genotyping job, users need to add the HTPG email or not. So this is compulsory. So if the HTPG is helping, the HTPG email should come in both of these fields. If not, there is no requirement. However, there is the requirement to add all the time the EiB Module 3 email. This is so because it's as part of a backup. So if there is any problem or any issue, the user will always have access to the information. Following this, there is also some invoicing field that must be filled by the user. So if the HTPG is supporting, the contact person will be the HTPG coordinator. However, if the HTPG is not supporting, will be the project manager contact that must be inputted here. Also, there are some information regarding the turnaround time, terms and conditions, followed by career informations, which is the career that user is using, the tracking number, the departure city, as well the departure day. Finally, there is some other information that must be added in the details for lab order, namely the species of crop, analysis type, if is for routine analysis, SNP verification, experimental test, use drop-down selection, the number of plates that the user is sending, and the number of SNPs that will be used to genotype the material. Also, there are some additional details where the user should briefly and concisely describe what is being sent to genotype and what is the intent. In the fourth form sheet, we will find the plate IDs. And here we have to add the name of the plate, means the name that the user will give to the physical plate. So the name introduced in the text as well, the name of the physical plate must be identical. So when the samples arrive to the vendor can match both. If the user have the barcode already in the plate ID, this can be also inserted, but is optional. Comments are also optional. So when the user will make any comment, for example, when the user is genotyping with a high number of cusp markers, so there is the probability that the main plate's material is not enough to perform the genotyping work. So it is advised to the user send additional plates, means backup of each main plate. And here is the information that must be added about the backup plate. Following, we have the sample list. And here the users need to fill the sample ID, well location, as well plate ID, subject barcode if exists, plate barcode if exists, comments, and customer sample name. So the sample ID is needed previously and usually is got either by Galaxy or BMS softwares. So the user will put the output of BMS and Galaxy IDs in this column. The plate ID will be exactly equal to this. So if there is here plate 1, here it will be plate 1. The same with the well location. So the well location for each correspondent plate ID. In the customer sample name, if the user wants, and it's advisable, is not compulsory but is advisable, the user should put the sample user ID. So the user can easily match the customer sample name as well with the sample ID. Following up, we have the plate layout grid, and it's optional for the user but advisable in case there is any issues in the lab regarding the samples. Here the users add the name or ID of their samples exactly in the way that they are in the physical plates, so they can be matched very easily. Finally, we can find the SNP information space where the user add the Intertek SNP ID, and this info is currently available at the EiB Module 3 website, namely the cusp markers for each crop. Besides, the user can add the custom SNP ID if available. So it is possible to add additional information regarding the trait that corresponds to each of the SNP, and this is where we will fill. So here it will be the Intertek SNP ID, here is the customer SNP ID, and here is the trait that corresponds to each of the SNPs.